Welcome to Zen and the Art of Motorhome Cooking. My name is Matthew De Silva, and today I'm going to show you how to make the best pasta sauce you've ever had. This pasta sauce, as it says on the title of the video, has been MAFIA approved. I had an Italian girlfriend a few years ago. Her cousins, brothers, uncles, father all worked in the family business. She didn't tell me any of their secrets, but she did tell me secrets that came from her mum and her grandmother. So real Italian food is all about fresh ingredients, not too many of them, cooked well. Super simple. Most people, when they think of a pasta sauce, will reach for a jar. It's the most natural thing in the world to do. And the reason for that is because people have lost the art of cooking from scratch. That's a big part of what our show is about. We're all about eating whole foods. As you can see, this recipe isn't very complicated at all. Tomatoes, or tomatoes if you're in America, garlic, basil, butter and oil, and some salt and pepper. And it's all about how you put it together and when you put it together. We shall begin with cutting the garlic. What we do is we cut the little root end of the garlic there, peel away a little bit of the skin, take the flat of the knife and squash it. Then the skin comes away very easily. It just comes away, put it to one side like that. You can even get fancy, do 3 at a time, cut down on the time, and there we go. And that's how we peel our garlic. So once you've smashed and peeled your garlic, so I'm just going to get rid of the skins into our composting bin. Very eco-friendly bunch we are. Once you get them like this, you just start to chop them up. The finer you chop your garlic, the more garlic flavour comes out. So I like to chop it pretty fine, but not super fine. It's kind of nice just to have the chunky pieces of garlic in there. So once you have it chopped or minced up as much as you like, as I say, super fine, super strong taste, chunky, nicer texture, not quite as strong. Once that's all chopped up, we light our stove top, put the heat nice and low. It's interesting how people measure different ingredients. So you can measure by pounds or by cups, by ounces, kilos, grams, etc. Ginger, which we don't have in this recipe, you have a thumb of ginger. So I'm going to take a knob of butter, not sure where that came from, but there's a knob of butter, probably a little more, and let that melt slowly. As it melts, I'll add a little olive oil in as well. The flavour mix of olive oil and butter is just amazing. You can hear it starting to sizzle now. So you see that butter starting to sizzle away and melt down. About now we're ready to put our garlic in. We have about 5 pounds of tomatoes here, and I used around half a bulb of garlic. Okay, so we take our garlic and throw it in. You notice it's not really sizzling loudly because we don't have the heat up too high at this stage. So we just stir the garlic in. Let that simmer for about a minute. Whilst it's simmering, we'll start to chop our tomatoes. Okay, so tomatoes, just roughly chop them up, keeping an eye to make sure the garlic doesn't get brown. We just want it to be a really nice golden colour in with the butter there. When you're making tomato sauce, you really want the ripest tomatoes you can get. As soon as you get a few tomatoes ready, just throw them in. Let them cook alongside the garlic, and you keep chopping your tomatoes and keep adding them into the pot. You see it's starting to calm down because the heat's not up too high. So let those tomatoes cook nice and slowly to begin with. We don't want to terrify them with the high heat straight off or scorch them. We just cut these chunky, different sizes, and that all adds to the finished texture as well. At the end, you're going to have a nice smooth sauce with a couple of little tomatoey bites and garlicky bites, which is just going to make it pop on the tongue and give a little something to chew on. So this stage is all about chopping and stirring. So we're down to our last few tomatoes, and you'll notice the pot is very quiet right now because the tomatoes are just sitting in their juices, cooking very slowly, which is what you want. And at this point you add salt. So you don't add salt until all of the tomatoes are in here and they're starting to look a little saucy. So for this much, about 5 pounds of tomatoes, about a teaspoon of salt should do it. And salt always comes with his brother pepper. Now, turn the heat up high and do something sacrilegious. Put the lid on, which most Italian mamas would tell you that's not how you do it. You should just turn up the heat and keep stirring and stirring and stirring. But I think it helps for tomatoes to stew down. Now once it's really bubbling nicely, turn down the heat again. And we just let the sauce simmer down now for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll come back and check on it. Okay, let's check on their progress. Looking really good. Now at this stage I'm going to take the lid off and leave it off and let the sauce thicken. So again, we'll do what the mamas want and turn it up just a little bit, make it a little hotter. At this stage it's all about letting the sauce thicken up. And it's also about the basil or the basil. You never ever chop basil. You pick the leaves and tear it into the sauce. I'm putting about 20 leaves of basil in here, which is 4 leaves of basil for every pound of tomatoes. However, this basil has little flowers on top, and I just love these, the way they smell. It just adds a kind of a different feeling to the sauce. So I'm just going to take the little flowering buds off and put them in as well for good measure. Now look at how beautiful that looks. It's nearly ready, so we just turn it down a little bit. So we're going to simmer the sauce. So we keep stirring and simmering until we get this beautiful, smooth, thick texture with just a couple of little tomato and garlic lumps. And it's kind of like an Italian flag with the red tomatoes, the white garlic, and the green basil. It's beautiful because you can still see those colours when you make it fresh like this. The aroma is incredible. And it's so simple to make. As you can see, it's thickening it up nicely and is about ready to be served. So we're going to leave this for 20 minutes while I make some pasta, and then we're going to have it for lunch. We'll probably only use about half of what's there, and the rest I'll save until tomorrow when it's going to be even better. If you have access to a freezer, you can make larger batches. You can put them into little packets and take them out anytime you need a pasta sauce. So much better than reaching for a jar. The taste is so different, so much better this way. If you don't believe me, follow the instructions and make it yourself at home. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit the little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you receive notifications whenever we post a new video. So in next week's video, I'm going to use today's leftover pasta sauce, and I'm going to be making a very interesting recipe, particularly for those of you who have children who don't like to eat their vegetables. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.